Accessible housing is actually a community. It's a community of residents and staff. It's a community of volunteers and funders who all get together and say it's unacceptable for people to experience housing insecurity for any reason, especially if you're in a wheelchair. My job is to look at the vision and the mission of the organization, to build the team and to help ensure that we're looking long-term at how do we open more doors for people who need our support, both through affordable housing and through accessible housing.
I learned about accessible housing through friends. I realized that I had to have someplace different than where I was living.
I was very fortunate that I was visited by somebody whose daughter had suffered a spinal cord injury, and he was the guy that told me about it.
Accessible housing was started in 1974, and what it began as was a residential care home or a group home where residents who were wheelchair bound got together and helped to create an environment where they were able to live as independently as possible while sharing the expenses of professionals to get them in and out of their chair in the morning and then back into bed in the evening.
And when I first started working for the accessible housing, there was a 4D group home, which is a group home for 12 residents. And then they bought McLaren Village. They also provided care for where I'm living now, which is Chinook House. There was a residential assessment design program where they would go out in the community, assess a person's home for feasibility for a ramp or modifications inside the house.
A lot of people don't realize what constitutes an obstacle, but a simple demonstration here with this chair, I fit under the table here. That doesn't happen in most situations.
So in some respects we own buildings and retrofit them and make them work for people who are limited by mobility. And in other settings we try to open doors that are out there in the community. Only 3% of all affordable housing in the city, rentable affordable housing, is accessible. Yet 1 in 4 Calgarians who are experiencing homelessness require it.
The fourth dimension as group home is unique, not only in this city, but probably in this continent. It is unlike any other. It is a care facility, but it's not a nursing home.
This is not a hospital, you know. It doesn't look like a medical facility. This is my home. You know, it's room and board, and I can decorate my room the way I like it, put my touches of furniture and pictures up, and, you know, be it ever so humble, there's no place like home, and that's really true.
Jeff, who's the head guy, came in here, and I was only here, I think, about a couple of weeks, and they came for a meeting, and he came over and thanked me for allowing me into my home. And I said, no, it's not my home, it's your place. And he said, no, it's your home. And I thought, that's an interesting concept.
Just imagine living in a wheelchair for a day and the things that you take for granted, and you and I take for granted. These are resilient people, and so we try to stay out of their way while at the same time supporting them living independently.
The fact that I have 24/7 care if I need it, and that's important, because I don't usually, I try not to need it. In fact, I try to do everything myself if I can. But when the chips fall down and I really need some help, it's there.
It gives you independence. It doesn't impose limitations on you. And this is probably the nicest setting at any place that you can imagine.
The independence is not independence to be in a nursing home, but independent. The independence is, I don't consider myself different than anyone else. I am just a guy who has this kind of challenge. Everyone has challenges. Mine are just obvious.
I think it's a very rare place. Like, it's one of the only places that I know of, and other people I've talked to that, you know, just amazed at what we have here.
Accessible housing has been, they've really helped in lots of ways, and we need more of these places so they can help more people, because there's a lot of people out there in wheelchairs that, you know, we have barriers, but here we don't.